The absurdity of the housing market continues to show its true colors. As of today, the average cost for a house stands at about $368,000, which means your household needs to earn about $100,000 a year to qualify for the average priced home today. There's a small problem with that number, though. The average household income in America today is about $82,000, which is about 18 grand shy of the average income required for the average home. With all that said, on top of all that, you're going to need a 20% down payment if you want to afford the average priced house with a $100,000 a year salary. So, in other words, don't even think about buying a house until you have almost $75,000 in cash ready to put down. Now, I don't know about you, but most people I know, actually, virtually every single person I know, they don't have anywhere near that much money in savings, not even close. So, one of the problems with the housing market, though, most people with mortgages today, they're locked in a good they're locked into a good rate and they have a mortgage payment nowhere near the current $2,700 average mortgage payment today. And most people who mortgage or they own their house, they have a ton of equity thanks to the skyrocketing prices in recent years. Therefore, if they fall on hard times, they have plenty of house money to take out home equity loans against. And that'll keep them afloat, whether if they lose their job or if there's a plumbing issue or they need a new roof or something like that. Because a lot of people who have been mortgaging their house for years, they're still falling on hard times just because everything is a lot more expensive than it was 5, 6 years ago. Groceries, for example, they're 30% more now than they were in 2019. So everybody's having trouble financially. I mean, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people out there are having a lot of trouble financially. But the issue is that a lot of people, well, most people who have a mortgage today, or they just outright own their house, they have a lot of equity to borrow against to keep them afloat for potentially years. I mean, their house might be worth, most houses are worth roughly double what they were back in 2019. So, I use worth or value, quote unquote. It's inflated value. And plus, a house is only worth as much as somebody's willing to pay for it. But if you have $200,000, $300,000 in increased home equity, that's a lot of money that can carry you quite a ways if you lose your job or if any kind of circumstance financially were to arise. But anyway, I'll go ahead and get into this. This is from News Nation on newsnationnow.com. Buying a home, you'll need a $17,000 raise, Zillow finds. But listen to this, in San Jose, California, if you're earning the median income in America currently, which is, what was it, $82,000 a year roughly, if that's how much you're earning and you live in San Jose, you're going to need a $250,000 raise right off the bat if you hope to own a house or even just get a mortgage. Just start trying to own a house in San Jose. That's how much of a raise you're going to need, a $250,000 raise. So you're going to need to earn about, I don't know, roughly $320,000 a year just to qualify for the average priced house in San Jose. Not to mention, you also have to come up with a 20% down payment in order to qualify across the board and get the best mortgage rates. And you also have to have great credit as well. Plus, you're going to have to hope to earn a minimum of $320,000 a year for the next 30 years. 30 years that you're going to have to earn that income in order just to pay off this house, which costs an absurd amount of money in San Jose. So also the median income can cover the typical mortgage in just 11 major metros. It's not very many metros. Cleveland, Ohio, the buyers over there, they have the most room to spare, though, according to Zillow. And the article gets into the details on that. So in 2020, a household earning the median income could afford a typical U.S. home, but today they're going to need a $17,670 raise in order to do it, according to a new Zillow analysis. To comfortably afford the mortgage on a typical U.S. home, now worth $367,969, you're going to need a salary of nearly 100 grand, Zillow found. And that assumes you already have almost 74 grand available to put down 20% on the house. So if your household makes the median income, which is $82,168 today, you will need a raise of more than 20% which is roughly about $18,000, just to afford a typical average mortgage. Nationwide, just average across the board. That's how much money you're going to have to be making. 100 grand. And that's similar to where I live. I live in Tampa Bay, and the average household income here is roughly about 72, between 72, maybe 75,000 a year. But to qualify for the average priced home in my area, you have to make $107,000 a year. I mean, I don't know the exact precise definition of a housing bubble, but that's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like people can't afford the houses that are for sale in their local area, which doesn't make a lot of sense. If nobody locally can afford a local house, how do you expect people to end up in one? So it's a problem that may persist for maybe some years to come, but the housing market, it's already showing signs of reduction. Not nearly fast enough, but like I said, I think a lot of the reason for that is just because more than half the people out there who have a mortgage or they own their homes outright, they're not dealing with the insane cost that's associated with buying a house today, especially people in the millennial generation and especially Gen Z. I mean, I really don't even know what to tell them. I mean, this is not a market that anybody on this side of sanity is going to even entertain. I mean, some people still are. Some people are still buying houses. I mean, the average house I think today is that's sitting on the market is 3, maybe 4 months, depending on which area that it's in. Some places like in Massachusetts, New Jersey, homes, they're still selling quickly despite how much that they're actually costing. It's crazy. I mean, people they just don't seem to really care in those areas, but there's other areas where houses could sit on the market for 6, 7 plus months and not see a single offer. But so anyway, in San Jose, in 4 California metros, typical earners would need much larger raises, over 6 figures, to afford a home in the area. In San Jose, a household earning the median income would need a $250,000 raise in order to afford a typical mortgage, even with $330,000 set aside for a 20% down payment. So let me just do a pause right here, and I'm just curious to see because it's a mathematical issue, and I'm not really all that good with math. That's why calculator is my best friend. So times 5. So the average house in San Jose is roughly about $1.65 million for an average house, which is probably a house that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. I mean, I'm assuming in San Jose the average house probably will have 3 bedrooms. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's like the average house there is a McMansion that has 6 bedrooms for all I know. I don't know, but I'm just assuming it's probably just an average, probably 1,300, 1,500 square foot home, maybe 2,000 square foot home for $1.6 million. Are you they're insane. They're absolutely insane. I mean, I cannot believe that anybody would want to live in California, especially moving to California these days. I mean, look, people who are locked into California, they vote politically, the direction that they tend to vote in California. Just let them know, like, hey, man, California, that's the place to be. Just stay right where you're at. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Just love California for the rest of your life. Stay put. Don't go anywhere else. Don't tell them. If you know somebody who's in California, don't let them know what's happening outside of California financially. The fact that homes are not nearly as expensive as they are out there, because if California society were to spread across the country, we are completely screwed in every single conceivable way. So, all right, in San Jose, let's see. Yeah, they would need a $250,000 raise in order to afford the typical mortgage in that city, but 6-figure raises would also be necessary in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And the numbers are on the screen. So home sellers now outnumber buyers by 500,000. And I'm sure that number is not going to go down, not anytime soon. I mean, it's only going to get worse. Now, the jobless or the unemployment rate is still pretty low, historically speaking. It's actually not doing too bad at all. Now, an argument could be made for the immigration situation. Millions of immigrants came in, and that could be why that the unemployment rate is so low. Also, due to the fact that everything costs so much these days, so more people than ever are having to get a second, third job in order to pay the bills. So that also could contribute to the low unemployment rate also. Not to mention that if you don't have a job, no matter what it is, you cannot survive in this situation that we're in. I mean, unless you want to be full on homeless, but So anyway, the 10 cities where you need the biggest rate to afford a typical mortgage payment in the area, according to Zillow, is the following. Now, this calculation with these cities on this list, they assume a 20% down payment and the raise amount needed, which is based on the median income for the local area. So this is how much money you're going to need to earn. Now, again, this is assuming that you make the average income in America, which is what, $82,000. All right. So you move to San Jose, or you move to New York City, or you move to Riverside, and you are currently earning $82,000 in your household, but you want to buy a house in San Jose or New York or Riverside. This is how much money you're going to have to earn above and beyond this current $82,000 salary that you're at. So in Los Angeles, you make $82,000 today. Congratulations. You need to earn $150,000 just to get the average house in Los Angeles. And again, this doesn't even include the 20% down payment on the house. So you're going to have to save hundreds of thousands of dollars before you can even think about buying the average priced home. You can find homes below average. They're probably going to be smaller. They're probably going to be in rough neighborhoods, but they're out there. You can still find one. I mean, look, a lot of people, I'm sure, especially in blue states, they're looking into tiny homes, RVs, especially in Los Angeles. They're just straight up living in their cars. I know there for a while in San Francisco, RV life was really taken off, and San Francisco saw RVs parked all over the place up and down San Francisco in the metro area. But I think they put a stop to that. Like there for a while, you were legally allowed to park your RV, I want to say long term, and nobody would bother you. The cops wouldn't bother you. The city wouldn't bother you. But I think things are changing there as far as that goes. But, I mean, maybe they just can't even afford the RV life anymore, and they just have to go full-on tent cities at this point, because we all know that's rampant out of California. And, I mean, look at this. California is what? 4, 5, 6. 6 of the 10 cities on this list are in just California alone. I mean, somebody who's watching this video or reading these statistics, why in the hell would you want to move to California? Just unless you're offered a job where you're going to be making an absurd amount of money. Yeah, we're going to give you a job here. You're going to get paid about $820,000 a year. Yeah, okay, fine. That might be enticing to go to California if you're going to make an absolute insane amount of money per year. But good luck with that, because big tech's not, I don't know if I go as far as to call it collapsing, but there's been mass layoffs across big tech for years at this point. I mean, initially it was because everybody got over COVID and that finally went away, but now it's just AI. I know they're blaming that. Automation, they're blaming it on that too, among other things. So, yeah, I don't know how many jobs are going to be available in California in the coming few years, with the ability to earn enough money just to buy the average house. That's it. But anyway, so today there are only 11 major markets where the median income is enough to afford the typical mortgage payment, down from 39 such markets just 5 years ago. It went from 39 markets or major cities where an average income can afford an average home, but now it's only 11. Those markets are generally clustered in the Midwest and Northeast. Of course, it's just where the fewest number of people just happen to want to live. Zillow found home buyers in Cleveland are the best off, given that median earners in the Ohio city can make more than $11,500 over what is needed to afford a typical home. So did you hear that? If you don't care where it is in America, you just want to own a home. I just want to own a home. I'm sick of paying rent. I'm sick of throwing money down the drain, flushing it down the toilet, which, when you're renting, you're not exactly doing that. I mean, there are a lot of perks and a lot of benefits to renting as opposed to being a homeowner. But anyway, you can move to Cleveland and you can buy the average priced house in Cleveland with your $82,000 a year salary, and you're still making almost $12,000 above and beyond what is required in the city of Cleveland just to buy the average house. So I don't want to live in Ohio. I don't want to live in Cleveland. But, I mean, maybe a lot of people out there who might be listening to this, that would be one of those places that you can go if you want to get an average priced home and still have plenty of money left over, if you're making the average income, of course. And it's also similar in nearby Pittsburgh, where median earners are taking home an extra $11,200. So there you go. You got Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You also have St. Louis, $4,897 above and beyond, and also in Cincinnati, $4,396. If it were me, if I had to choose between those four cities, for me, I would probably go with Cincinnati. That's the one I'd go with. I mean, at least it's not far from nature, and I mean, all of these cities are near nature, obviously, but Cincinnati's close to some good national parks. I mean, you've got Kentucky right there, you've got Indiana right there. You're kind of in hill country around that area, and Cincinnati's not a bad place, really. I mean, I don't think it is. I've been there a bunch of times. So anyway, to be considered affordable, a monthly mortgage payment can't account for more than 30% of the household income. So while the supply of affordable housing still falls well short of demand, this spring's home buying season offered some openings for buyers as inventory rose and more sellers were making concessions. In certain markets, home prices even declined. They absolutely did. I know they did in Florida, and I'm sure they did, outside of Florida as well. But it will likely take more than savvy negotiating to solve the affordability crisis in the long run. I mean, I think what they need to do, they need to really sit down with the local property appraisal offices, which I believe are government entities, like your local property appraisal office, and really go through all their books, go through all their numbers, and make sure that there's no nefarious business, no fraudulent related business happening in those offices. Because, I mean, I have a feeling that local appraisal offices are increasing the quote unquote value of houses far above and beyond where they should be. Because the more you raise the value of a house, the more you can charge them in property taxes. So it's a win win for the appraisal office because they can jack up the cost of houses, and people who already have their houses, now they've got a whole bunch of equity locked up in their house. And now the city can also earn a lot more money in property taxes. So it's kind of a win win. I mean, as far as they're concerned, but I have a feeling that a lot of shady business is probably happening in those areas. I mean, I don't know for sure. I don't work in there. I'm just voicing an opinion on the internet. So anyway, in certain markets, home prices even declined. Yeah, I already read that. Okay, so quote, to make home ownership more broadly accessible, though, we will need lasting solutions, starting with policies that allow more homes to be built in the right places, NG said. And that in there, and it just that's just a whole nother problem in and of itself, is that there's just not as many homes that are being built or have been being built in the last 15 years, 17 years since the 2008 situation, to put it lightly, happened. We haven't been building houses nearly as much as we were before the last housing crash happened. And since they scaled back a lot on the number of homes that were getting built year over year, not just in one area, on average across the whole country, the inventory of available homes is down significantly, even though the inventory of houses for sale is still going up and up. A lot of the reason why houses, at least this is the excuse that I've read. I don't even know if this is really true or if it's just bullshit, but apparently one of the main drivers as to why housing costs so much right now has to do with the lack of new housing being constructed at any given area around the country. And the rate has been down since 2008, 2009. But of course, they also say the cost of building materials is a lot higher thanks to the whole COVID and supply shortage and all this, that, and the other, even though it's been years since that's happened, multiple years, because we're in 2025 now. That whole supply chain shortage thing, it pretty much ran its course, as far as I remember, back by the end of probably 2021. I mean, I know that the car market was still trying to catch up and the chip shortage and all that. But as far as building materials and lumber and all that, I mean, I don't understand why we even have a supply shortage of lumber anyway, because you can cut down trees and you can process lumber and you can still do all that, with 6 feet social distancing. You could still truck lumber from place to place. I mean, I don't even understand why, other than maybe there was a gas shortage for a period of time, which I don't think there really was. In fact, when COVID first broke out, the cost for a barrel of oil, I think it dropped into the negatives for one of the first times in history, which means if you had the means in the middle of COVID when everything was locked down, because they had so much excess oil sitting in shipping containers because they shut down everything, so they couldn't process the oil into gasoline and other petroleum products. If you had the means to store crude oil, you could have went up to one of those refineries and you could have filled up a tanker truck and they would have paid you to do that. You wouldn't have been paying them for the oil. They would have been paying you to truck it away. I mean, that's how much surplus oil they had during that time. So yeah, I get it. There was a time where there was a shortage in supplies and gas and this, that, and the other. But, we're not in 2021. We're not in 2022 anymore. I mean, we're years past that. We're into 2025. So there's no reason, in my opinion, why lumber should be costing 3, 4, 5 times more than it did in 2019. We should have an abundance of supply, and if not, then it sounds like we need to get a hold of some lumber companies and get them to step up what the hell they're doing, because they're not producing enough. I mean, we need to build a lot more homes. Of course, the quality of homes needs to increase drastically. I mean, you can go on TikTok and check out all kinds of people who are getting their homes inspected, and it's a travesty. I mean, these houses are, not all of them. I would hope most of them are not in that condition, but I mean, just in deplorable conditions, like just very shoddy work. Walls are not measuring up evenly. There's giant gaps in tiles and like big gaps between window sills and the windows. I mean, just all kinds of just sloppy work that people have seen with regard to new construction homes. So, I mean, of course, that needs to be fixed too. Regulations, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess regulatory agencies with regard to constructing homes, the contractors, the inspectors, they got to really step up their game and improve their quality, because they're just taking too many shortcuts these days. And it obviously seems like nobody's getting penalized for it, because it keeps becoming an issue time and time again. But anyway, I'll just keep rambling. So thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.